Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith. Welcome to Masters of the Universe Revelation Celebration, a celebration of the writers of Masters of the Universe. And look, big writers come in small packages, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dia, who wrote episode 2, and we're gonna go through the entire episode today. Now, like with the others, you line it up yourself and whatnot. There'll be no image here except us. So if this image offends you, you're not gonna like the next half hour. There's no He-Man, Masters of the Universe images or anything. You got to do that part yourself. This is a commentary track that kind of lines up with it. Now we've gotten the disclaimers out of the way. Dia, tell these fools at home when you first knew that you were a writer. Not when you wanted to be a writer. When did you know you're a writer? Or have you figured it out yet?
You know, I don't know that I knew I was a writer. I just remember going to the first Harry Potter and being like, oh, so someone got to go to Hogwarts? That's gonna be me one day. And that pretty much is it. This whole thing is just a scam to be able to go to Hogwarts. And if you want to call me a writer, if that's the way I get my ticket, sure, let's do it.
You're just, let's just go back for a second here. So it's during the first Harry Potter movie that you like, writing could happen. I hesitate to ask, how old were you when you had this?
Oh God, like 8, I think, 8 or 9.
So Dia is our youngest writer at 16 on the show, and it shows you that writers come in all ages and stuff like that. Oh my God, do you know when I thought about writing for the first time?
When?
Like 1980, bro.
I wasn't even a twinkle in my parents' eye at that point.
There were 2 other people that were like, I wonder who I'll be with one day.
My parents weren't even married then.
We should point out, you're going to make them sound scandalous. Dia's mom is watching, so I'm going to try to watch my language, but no guarantee because that's how I make my living. But Dia won't curse at all.
Not once.
Because she's a good girl. That being said, in the writer's room, blue streak.
No.
I learned new vulgarities that I've never heard before that I still pass on to others in the world.
He's lying. I've never even heard a curse word in my life. I wouldn't know what they mean.
She's a good girl, Mom. She's a good girl. Loves her mama. They just pulled us off of YouTube right now for that. Okay, so what were you doing prior to Masters? Tell them what you're doing now, man. Fucking flip out your big writers, fucking,
I mean, I don't.
And tell them what you're doing. Are you allowed to, or is it spoilers?
I can. Yeah.
She got big job, kids, with a big place, and it's big. It's easy. You'll find out what it is. When do they announce it?
I think the show is announced, but I don't think the writers are announced yet, and that
she's working on a show.
It's actually
a show that's happening.
Happening and a thing.
How deep are you into the writing process?
The room's been up for a month, so we're still, working it out. We had our pitches last week to network and studio. And
is it a real room or a Zoom room?
It's a Zoom room. I love it. Like you don't get the same vibe, right? So we wrote this in your living room.
We did. That was our writer's room.
Yeah.
First on the couches, then once around the bar as well.
Once around the bar, group chat, a lot of it on group chat. Especially in this episode, as you'll find out, I made Eric write some stuff for me because I didn't want to.
Did you really?
That's pretty much it. Yeah, but then it got cut. So it didn't matter.
No
it's all me. It's all me.
I was like, we're going to have to break off Eric a little more cash, which is something I said throughout the entire process of writing. We're going to have to break off Eric a little more cash. Yeah, you guys were absolutely phenomenal. We had an amazing team, of whom thus far you've only met me. Here you're meeting Dia. Next up you get to meet Mark, then Tim, and then Eric. The aforementioned Eric will be joining us and stuff. But for right now, line up your Masters of the Universe Revelation. Ooh, it's lined up. Episode 2. The Poison Chalice, a title that you came up with?
I did. I think I'm the only one who has their same title.
Is that a thing that the writers notice? Because I changed a lot of the titles.
It really is, actually.
Is it really? And they're like, he fucking changed my title. Some of them were like funny, but they were joke references to like the Four Non Blondes song. And I was like Eric's number 5, I think, was something like that.
Yeah,
and then I was like, no, it has to be the Forge on the Forest of Forever. Very Star Trek-y.
But mine is
Poison Chalice.
The Poison Chalice is like a weird plugging Eric again. Eric and I love a theme, right?
Dia's mom, for the record, nobody's plugging Eric on this show. Just this is a good, clean show. See what I'm saying about the mouth in the writer's room? I'm plugging Eric. What did Eric do?
Well, he knows I love a theme. And so he said, in this episode, you'll find like they go to a mountain that shall remain unnamed.
We can say they're about to watch it. Spoilers.
Okay.
Snake Mountain. In
I
fact,
assume they've seen it by
if
now.
you that's my point. Excellent point. If you haven't watched
don't
Masters of the
watch
Universe Revelation,
this one.
go watch
Go
it.
watch it.
Then when you rewatch it, that's when you do this. Anyway, so
they
now
go,
spoil it.
They go to Snake Mountain, and the land is
Good
barren.
spoilers.
And they're there to find like a goblet, right? And so Eric sent me this poem called "The Wasteland" by T.S. Eliot, and it's the myth of the Fisher King, which is Arthurian legend.
What a like. How often does somebody ever say something like that? So Eric sent me an
Sent
ancient
me a
poem.
classic poem. And we love, both of us really love Arthur, King Arthur legends. And
Eric. I don't care for King Arthur legends. I think they're a bunch of bullshit. My apologies to Dia's mom, but
Arthur.
like I ain't buying it anyway.
Who
But
does he think he is?
Arthurian fangirl over here, fucking like sword and a stone over here. So anyway, what did he say?
But the legend of the Fisher King is about the king who has been wounded gravely, and the land has become barren, and Percival goes to find the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
And so that is what the poem is about.
That was an Excalibur. That
Oh,
movie, yeah.
yeah, sure is.
I've seen a movie.
And there's some lines in the poem that I really wanted to use to like frame Tila's perspective, which are, I'm gonna mess it up. This is not the actual words, but it's something like, "Who is the third who's always walking beside you? I count you and me, but there is another who is always walking beside you." And so when I was writing Tila, because this is the first episode post He-Man, I was like, that is how I want Adam's presence in this episode to be.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
And
you
when-
gave that actual thought like that?
Yeah!
I just write shit. Well done. Themes, ladies
Listen,
and
they
gentlemen.
paid me. They paid me to do so I did it.
Some of that Netflix, some of that Mattel television money.
Yeah. They paid me in toys, and not real cash, but...
Yeah.
But so, especially with the flashback, like it is, and going to Snake Mountain and seeing this sort of like these old places she's been, I wanted like the specter of Adam always there in every single frame, even though he's not physically present.
A plan.
A plan.
A writer with a plan.
whole plan.
Dia came into our writer's room with a plan. The first session we had, Dia wasn't there, and then you came in from the second session on. What had you worked on prior? Magic the
Magic the Gathering. I actually stopped Magic on Friday and then came to He-Man on Monday.
And you came loaded for bear. You brought, I mean, we'll get into it in this episode, but there's like an element of this episode that like not only informed the rest of the season, it probably informed season 2 as well.
Oh, yes.
It has a lot
I
to
don't
do
know what
with...
you're talking about, but okay.
Of course you do.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
Your mother's not the only mother that we'll be talking about in this episode.
It's true. I certainly planned that.
Let's dive in, shall we? Line up your episodes, kids, if you want to watch along, or you can just watch two people talking and enjoying their own work in a gross way. I know we're supposed to be ashamed of what we've done, but like I love this show. It's pretty dope.
I mean, it's my first episode.
Here we go. Now, is this your first? There's the Netflix logo. Ba-bum. Was this your? Now you worked on Magic the Gathering. Is it out yet?
No, so this is the first thing that will ever be out of mine. And it's
Oh
got a
my
whole
God,
theme.
you're right. The first thing that will ever be out. Like
Yeah.
you'll never forget your first. How awesome. And solo writing credit, I may add.
Ooh.
Pretty hot. Tell them what that means to, people who aren't in our business. Having a solo writing credit.
I mean, it means I've arrived, I think. That right? I
Yeah.
don't actually know. Does it mean
It's
more than that? It
huge,
means I get all
yeah.
the money is what it means.
Number one, she gets paid. Number two, she gets credit. That's the nice thing and stuff. Could be vice versa. But a lot of people sometimes like do
There
their
it
best work
is.
there. Look at that name.
Look at her.
And
Oh.
somewhere Dia's mom is just like, I knew it. I knew it from birth. When she came out, I knew. Writer, I says. This, for those that are looking kind of close, I just found this out from Adam and Pat, our directors, last night. We all had a party, or Teddy had a party at his house, and we all went. And so the boys from Powerhouse came out, and they said those masks are also, they were like, there's so many Easter eggs in this.
Oh.
Those masks are a reference to something else. Now,
Damn.
let's,
this
look
guy.
at this. There it is. Jason Mewes, ladies and gentlemen.
Best character.
Typecast as Stinkor. First Stinkor in cartoon form, I believe.
And you know what? He deserves it.
Right?
He's been waiting his turn. Stinkor is badly maligned, I think.
You know, just because a guy stinks.
Like, let him be. That's trendy now.
Hey man, sometimes deodorant's not enough for some of us.
He's
Back off.
using like the vegan, organic.
So it's
like,
edible, but it ain't good.
It's edible because he cares about the environment.
Jason Mewes representing Highlands, New Jersey as Stinkor, ladies and gentlemen. The pride of Jersey. There he falls. You can hear him go snooch as he falls.
Really?
Yeah, I had him do snooch. Okay, so now let me tell you a story. Episode 1, which I wrote, was so long that they had to make like cuts for time. So
I didn't write this actually.
kind of. There's a certain point where Dia's stuff kicks in. But all this shit right here, this is still from episode 1. So because, you know, Netflix and Mattel Television were like,
There, now we're in my episode.
are we?
Yeah.
No, you start with the, do we start with this?
We start here.
But No Glove, No Love is mine. I think we start with the flashback because the plan was
Right, yes.
every
start
episode was going to
with-
start with a flashback. So 2, 3 start with flashback, but then because of what happened with episode 1 being so long, they hacked off the last 5, 10 pages and shit, and that began episode 1, which everybody felt was kind of like, you know what, the break where Teela walks away from the palace, like rather than do fade to black and then do 1 year later or something like that, they're like, that feels like the episode end. So that was not like, it wasn't like, oh, her fucking script sucks, so let's put half of mine in it or something like that. It was just, it had to move over. But by virtue of that, you want to talk about the unkindest cut and fucking like the wisdom of Solomon, like having to cut a baby in the half.
Yes. Oh.
There's a character that Dia wrote an amazing scene for. What's the character's name?
Eilina, who I love. I love Eilina from the original.
And there's a big fight with her and Teela.
Yes, at right before they're gonna go to the sorceress, you find out that Randor has basically had a few guards who swore an oath to protect the land, and they are led by Eilina, who, as we know, looked up to Teela in the original series. And there's a whole episode about that, and she learned from Teela about bravery, and Teela has to fight her. And it was like me doing what I would want as a fan, which
Right.
is like really carrying over these lessons and having Teela face it. And it was voiced by,
My own daughter.
wow.
That's like, you know, one of those stories of Moses or whatever the fuck, where, you know, God told me to sacrifice his son. He goes to do it, and God's like, oh, I was just kidding. Don't worry about it. That I heard the Lord tell me, sacrifice your child's part in Masters of the Universe for the betterment of the whole program. And so I did. We had to cut her out, which was such a bummer. And it was such a great scene. And I will forever bump into, like, not in a bad way where I'm like, fuck this project. But I will forever bump into the fact that when they do go to Castle Grayskull, which at that point is the Palace of Wisdom, they just walk in.
Just walk in.
There's like nobody guarding it or anything like that. And we just play it as like the abandoned zone and shit. Here is the official start
Yes.
of this is where Dia starts earning her money.
And
ladies and
it
gentlemen.
was like Mosquito was going to be in it. It was a whole thing, and it was like a big battle. Because how can you have Teela go back to Snake Mountain and not remember Adam, right?
Yes, of course.
And this move,
That's right. You had Mosquito at one point.
it was an aerial battle. I was just like burning through that animation money.
Yeah. And those cats were like, we got a lot to do, man. How about he just fights Whiplash and then we'll move on. The idea here was
Oh, this move they'll repeat in episode 5.
many times throughout the show. It'll happen again too. Well, she'll repeat it with Andra
Yes.
later in this episode, and
then
then she repeats it with Adam in episode
in the
5.
finale,
Well
yeah.
remembered. So the idea when we were putting the show together was, since, you know, as you saw in episode 1, spoilers if you didn't watch episode 1, He-Man sacrifices himself at the head of the story. You know, naturally, we want He-Man in our show. It's Masters of the Universe. He's one of the main characters, just like Teela. So we kept him alive, so to speak, until episode 5 or the end of episode 4, by way of the flashback. So when you look at their first appearance at Wolfgate, it has a different animated style to it. It's a little more innocent, and there's not technology there. Then we did the dissolve, and suddenly you see all the tech. And the idea in the writer's room was that.
Oh, it's coming. Sorry, I gotta wait for it.
Do it. Go ahead.
Oh, it's not coming.
What the fuck?
No, it's coming. Where is it?
What are you waiting for?
My Lord of the Rings reference. The one. There it is. Snake Mountain has but one weakness.
I'm glad we stopped the car for that, kids. There's a real pilot going, and if you look out the window to the left, the Grand Canyon.
Well, we have the Two Towers, and so I tried to get every goddamn Two Towers reference I could into this until Tim and Eric were like, "You gotta stop. You gotta write some of the words."
You, Tim, and Eric. I don't know about Mark so much, but you, Tim, and Eric were the hardcore Rings nerds, and since we were doing a fellowship story where like a bunch of people get together and go on a quest, naturally that was a point of reference for the kids, not for me because I'm not a big Rings guy and stuff. So it was nice to have that influence, because if I was just by myself, there would be none of that Rings nonsense. I know, but be still thy heart and shit. So once again, like, collaboration led to a way better series. The notion that since magic was gone, we wanted to turn everybody into not everybody, but a big portion of Eternia into magic phobes. People that are just like, we're embracing technology. Magic and technology were always a big part of the Masters of the Universe mythos. The first reference to Motherboard right there. Where did the Motherboard come from? Writer's room? Did you just come up with the name?
No, I just came up with it.
So you were like...
I was like, computer terms. Google, give me some words.
Now, the first pass of the script, you remember Triclops and Trapjaw were completely different. It was much more the odd couple. And it was played a little more comedically. Then the next draft, Dia turned it into
a cult.
Yeah, well, fucking, Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, fucking Race with the Devil, any movie where you see a bunch of people in fucking eyes wide shut to some degree, although none of the sex whatsoever. Any movie where you see a bunch of people gathered and ominously, and shit like that. That was kind of the plan, and this is what she gave us, man. So. And
my note on this, well, again, it's coming up. But my note on this was, this show is not rated R.
Yes. So, Dia went hard.
When I originally wrote it, I wrote blood splatter, and you see faces peeled off, and you get that. And the Powerhouse people, I didn't realize how great they are. Because I don't know anything about animation.
Right.
But they get the same level of fear and creepiness and body horror, and they don't need blood.
Yes.
And I was like, look at this, my crutch.
That's true. Your script was just bathed in blood. It was like, this happens and this happens. It was body horror, because this is body horror, right? All of a sudden these people are becoming kind of cybernetic and whatnot based on drinking from Motherboard. But Motherboard really captured Teddy's imagination, so much so that we kept it alive. You'll see it in the second half as well. And if Zor's willing, there's a second season, there's a good chance Motherboard will be coming back. So the idea of the Snake Mountaineers who were left behind in the wake of the death of Skeletor, turning it into a techno cult where they, worship technology, machinery, blah, 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 gave us something to do with our characters, because our story is kind of about what happens when you remove the two pillars. Mm-hmm. What happens when the guy all the good guys, their whole fucking being is centered around him, and of the bad guys, their entire fucking lives are centered around him. What if they're removed from the board? Who are these people? How do they identify themselves? How
do you fill the vacuum? Especially when Teela steps out of her responsibilities, and now she has to see what she has let happen. And that was the point of the...
Well done. Fucking, I could have used you while I was doing press. That's well put.
Thank you.
Is that what we said in the writer's room? That's your take on it? I like your take.
Yeah, no, we said it. We wanted Teela to basically watch the father choose this, because she thought it was something evil, but this is what people have turned towards in the absence of her, and the absence of He-Man. And she really feels it in this episode, I think, because you gotta have like his ghost there.
Excellent.
So great.
That, well fucking put, for heaven's sakes. You should go out and do all our press. Of course, Triclops is being voiced by the great Henry Rollins.
Oh.
And you had no idea when you were writing your dialogue that it would be in Rollins' mouth. Rollins takes it so big in this, and he asked me while we were recording, he's like, please tell people that you told me to go this big. His performance, because he's done animated voiceover before.
I mean...
most people know. But his performance is very subdued, and I kept pushing. I was like, Henry, like, you're a mad monk. Bring it up. Like, just, you could go as big. There's no wrong. Go as big as you want. And he was absolutely delightful. Diedrich Bader, who plays our King Randor, also plays Trapjaw.
So good. I mean, also, like, just this fight is just phenomenal. This
Powerhouse.
is the fighty that they just were like, let us go ham on it. We'll do it. Like, don't worry.
That's the Patrick and Adam, our two directors, were always telling us, like, you know, you don't have to write every action beat so much. Just write fighty. Like, we got ideas. We'll take care of it.
And they're so good at it. Like, I've watched this like 3 or 4 times, and it's the part where not the words. I'm just watching the action at this point. I'm like, I can watch this all day.
Which is compelling as fuck. What is it like for a writer, or like any writer, but in your case, a baby writer, to see, like, oh shit, I wrote like that. I literally wrote that line where he steps there and they grab hands and like,
call back.
What is it like? Yeah, like, what is it like to see? It's one thing to know the tropes and know the language of screenwriting trade. What is it like to see you wrote something and somebody actually did it?
Insane.
It's nuts, right?
It feels like I'm watching Harry Potter, and the visual in my head is now on screen. And another thing for specifically the Snake Mountain sequence. So, and the trapdoor.
Yes.
Everyone says there's a trapdoor in Snake Mountain, and no one tells you where it is. And so I watched like 30 hours of toy unboxings. And I think it was like Pixel Dan finally had one where he was like...
Pixel Dan!
And I was like, oh, there it is. Because I wanted people to be able to open up the Snake Mountain toy and be able to do this exact sequence. Like from the jaw down to this like weird lake thing.
Right.
And then have the sea monsters come out, because those are like illustrated inside, and be able to basically play this sequence out on the toy.
How awesome, man. Like, that's commitment to the fucking form, kids. She could have literally just been like, yeah, they fucking run and blah, blah, blah. Instead, she's like, you know what? Like, just like every beat of this fucking show, extra thought went into, like, what would someone who loved this shit appreciate? So that's how you get to a sequence where as you play at Snake Mountain, you can literally reenact it like the old fucking commercials.
I mean, that's what everyone wants to do. You do only get this for my first episode, and then from now on, I'm like, no.
Then you stop. You're like, you know what? I did it once. Good enough.
Yeah, there you got my effort. No.
Majestra is like a reference too. There's so many references in this. She, Evelyn, over the course of the 4,000 episodes of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, disguised herself as an old woman, Majestra, at one point. So since we wanted to keep it under wraps, until what happens next, that it's Evelyn, the idea was, all right, she's going to be an old woman. Then the beautiful thing about Motu is that anything you think about doing, like there's this big Motu encyclopedia, you could like look for the parallel that has already happened or the character's already been established and build upon it, which makes it more fun and enjoyable for, like, not everybody. The whole fucking world's not gonna be like, Majestra, that's my fucking jam. But like 2 people out of fucking 10,000 are gonna be like, that's fucking dope. I remember the Majestra episode, man. Like, I'm already seeing the reaction based on we put up the
trailer. Yeah, yesterday.
So many people going hardcore geek about the splitting of the sword.
Yes. That's the thing, though. Like, the reason you want to do this for the show is because the original like it rewards fans
Yes.
so well, and so we had to include that element.
Yes.
Because that I mean, this is just fun, right? You just want to have fun. You want to have your toys out. You want to be able to play this like Shakespearean epic, and so we really didn't have a choice.
It occurs to me as I'm looking at this that Dia is the first one to write Andra. Or
Yes,
Andra, depending who says it. That you're the first one.
Oh.
She's not in episode 1, so I didn't write for Andra.
Okay, between this, she fought Eilina.
Yes, this
And-
was where the
yeah.
fight was.
And Eilina like gets beaten, and she looks up at Tila and says, "I used to look up to you," and Tila goes, "It looks like you still do," and then walks away.
It was a pretty dope line. Yeah, and my kid recorded too.
Oh my gosh! Wait, do you have that somewhere? I want to watch it.
Colette has it. Colette's got our casting director. She's got it. As we talk about it, I don't even know if I told the kid she's cut.
Oh.
I mean, it wasn't for lack of talent. She was wonderful, but it's like,
No, I think you did last night.
I what?
I think you did at the party.
Did I mention it to her?
Yeah.
I was like, you ain't in this. What the fuck are you? What are you doing at the party if you're not in this? You should go home. She's like, you brought me, you asshole.
We certainly talked about it, so I hope she knew before then.
Right. Good point. This was Teddy note. Because we, in your draft and in our notes session, in the writer's room session, they didn't know it was Evelyn until the magic happened. But Teddy is like, such a hardcore fan of this shit that he was like, bro, there's no way that Tila wouldn't know that was Evelyn the whole time. I'm like, she looks like an old woman. She's going to sound different. He goes, Tila's much smarter than that. Having that guy in our corner, having Rob David in our corner, like, meant you could never really fuck up. I've referred to it as like bumper bowling, like when you take kids bowling and they put the fucking bumpers in the gutters. We couldn't fucking gutter a ball because we were always hitting pins because these guys were like, you can't do that, or you should do this, or throwing in magic. Like a very big collaborative effort.
I tried to get another Lord of the Rings reference in that bit. Because I was...
What are you, trying to get a job with Tolkien?
Yes.
He's dead, man. Move on. There's an Amazon show.
Yeah, they're going to have another show.
Good point,
I mean, listen,
point.
I got bills.
You could put this in front of Amazon and be like, look, I can write Shakespeare as well as anybody else.
But it was Tila going to be like, her staff, I told you to take the witch's staff.
It's a little on the nose.
I mean...
Why didn't you just have her say, you shall not pass? I'm sure nobody would notice that.
I'm sure I tried at some point, and they really were like, all right, you have to write some of the words.
As you can see, this is a very female-heavy episode.
Yes.
So naturally, in the writer's room, we were like, who should write episode 2? We all looked at the female, and we were like, you have to speak for all women. Here you go. Have fun. And you absolutely did a blast. This is my feeling about this show. Is like, I love my script for episode 1. I love episode 1. But I honestly believe this about the show. Every episode is better than the previous episode. So when I watch this, I'm like, oh my
Same
God.
with the commentary. It's,
Yeah,
you got Tim next, and
it keeps going up. It escalates. It really, like, as I watched it, I was like, oh my God, like, I'm more like, mine is episode 1 is like, half of it is the old show, and then the other half is like the setup.
Shift, right? Like when you realize, oh shit.
But this is where the quest begins. And then you wrote this fucking shit. Like, I know a lot of people are like, fuck exposition. That's some of my favorite fucking dialogue to write. So you have like Lena Headey. We didn't know we were going to get her when we were doing this. Although in the writer's room, we were all like, fucking Evelyn should be Cersei and shit. And lo and behold, she did get to be it. But you get to write all this fucking dialogue that like the actors get to like spit out, set the whole thing up. Like this is my favorite part of episode 2 because it's like this sets us on the journey and shit.
So we had a version, an early draft of this, where I didn't realize being bad at rhyming was something you could be bad at, but we originally had all this exposition coming out as the Spirit of Grayskull.
That's right.
And this is the part.
That was from the outline.
Erica didn't write it for me, but he definitely gave me notes because he loves rhyming, and he's good at it. And my rhyming was like, like our magic fails swirling down eternity's drain to like fill the plug and like stop the leak. You have to like unite. It was so bad. It was so bad. And
Eric, what did Eric do?
Eric, he fixed
finessed
it.
Finessed
it. And either It probably was just because they read my draft and were like, ugh. Or we never meet that character again. And so I had finally finished. And you go, yeah, let's just cut the character.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's talk about Cringer. You wrote the Cringer fucking monologue.
Oh my gosh.
Which literally makes people cry. Like, people have reported, like, oh my God, a green cat made me fucking cry. How'd you do it? She wrote some beautiful words, and Stephen Root delivered them with more soul
I mean,
than most people have in the real world. Do you remember who named me Cringer? Is a very, like, Bear McCreary starts his score there, man, and it just like penetrates so deeply.
and it's impossible not to cry when Bear McCreary is like doing his thing.
Yes. And now for Cringer, you might have noticed, I might have said it in episode 1, you'll see it in other episodes for sure. Cringer speaks, Battlecat doesn't. Battlecat just roars and stuff, because it felt like Stephen, I love this moment here where he's just like, I knew Adam's big secret, sure. It's like, all right, humble bragger. But
Let me remind you of that fact.
yes, where she's like, yeah, thanks, buddy. It's kind of why I hate being here right now. Look at that, man. Your dialogue broke Buffy. Good kitty.
That's it. I'm done.
Were you a Buffy fan growing up?
Yes.
So getting Sarah as Tila, which
Oh,
I don't here. I'll be honest with you. In the writers' room, the kids, and when I say the kids, it's like everybody but me. All like hardcore Buffy fans who watched the fucking show. So while we were doing this, there was always talk of like, what if Sarah Michelle Gellar did it? And you know,
it was that thing where we wrote it sort of in a vacuum, right? And
look at all those,
Oh.
all that estrogen.
This-
And then you
and
cut to
then-
the manest of all men's.
literally in his name. One eye.
There it is, man. And as if like people are like, who is it? Who is that masked character? Bear's score is wonderful because it gives you a preview of like what's to come and of the next
And then it
episode.
changes.
And then it changes. But the idea, of course, is that like here the fellowship has begun. Like with this, you know, in that pullback shot, like the players have been gathered. They're going to gather some fucking more in the next episode. And we're off to the races. So his piece is very like energetic and whatnot. He, I think he too was a Rings referencer as well. It's very weird to be on a project where everybody's making references to shit. You're like, well, I mean, I kind of
Oh, I didn't know that.
remember. It didn't, and not weird where I was like, and I hated it. And it was the worst experience of my life. But it is weird where people were like, oh, we could do this, and the blah, blah, blah. And they have all the language and shit. And I'm like,
You were like, sure, yeah.
it's like, if it makes you happy. My geekdom only goes so far, man. I ain't toking it. This was episode 2, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the person who put it together, the writer, if you will, man.
If you liked it. If you didn't, it was his fault.
Yeah, at least the first few minutes sucked, but the rest of it got fucking good. You look now, we introduced Motherboard in this episode, and you'll hear more reference and see some Motherboard action later on down the road and whatnot. What you got now, from the moment we're in the writer's room and then we start writing scripts and blah, 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 you know, there's always the hope that we get to do it again. Have you started thinking about what you would do if we get to do it again with Motherboard?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Not gonna spoil it?
No.
She's like, I don't write until I'm paid.
I will say I'm going to rely on Powerhouse to do some more of their cool body horror,
There's some,
in my opinion.
Pretty
And more
bad.
Lord of the Rings, just always.
yeah, I'm not like, what? Oh, that's incredibly original. What is that? And everyone's like, that's not, bro. It's the ring.
I'll take credit. It's fine.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Fantastic fucking job. Wait until you find out the show she's working on now. You'll be like, what a glow up. But we got the benefit of passion of a new writer, man. Like, you get old ass jaded writers. They're like phoning it in. This motherfucker went above and beyond. Had themes going where I gave none. I was not like, this is about this. I was like, just 25 pages when you can. And you did what you did.
Well, you brought us all together, and everyone was so into it, and we all, we kept talking about it, right? Even outside the room, and these things coalesce and become bigger, and hopefully a lot of people enjoy it. I hope people have fun. I hope someone actually recreates that sequence with toys. That would be
With
my
their
dream.
figures?
Yeah, the Snake Mountain battle.
I bet now that you've asked for it, I guarantee you somebody does it and puts it up on YouTube.
Please.
She works so hard, for fuck's sake. Listen, Dia is the one you want to thank for episode 2. Here we celebrate writers. This here's the writer, man. Give it up for Dia. And if you're Dia's mom right now, you must be beside yourself.
Aw.
Just moist with perspiration for pride at seeing first, second, third born. Where are you? Only born? Firstborn child ascend to the top of Point Dread. All right, you get it. Mom should be proud. There it is, kids. Thank you for hanging out on Masters of the Universe Revelation Celebration. I'm Kevin Smith.
I'm Dia Mishra.
And go watch episode 3. You have the power. This is the Maquette. Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the AKA Ask Kev Anything. Every saga has a 10-year anniversary, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what happens when Jay and Silent Bob get old. I'm Kevin Smith. Kiss him, you!